Welcome to the Research Like a Pro question and answer series. I'm Nicole Dyer, and today's video is with Diana Elder, and she is talking about using Airtable for a timeline in genealogy research. And she'll talk a little bit about some of the benefits of using Airtable with this timeline and how you can add entries in a research log table and then use an automation to add entries from the research log in the timeline. And then she also shares another tip about focusing your timeline at the start of a project on your research objective. And instead of trying to add every source you have on a person, just focusing on the sources that are going to be relevant to your particular research. So hopefully these timeline tips are helpful for you, especially as you're getting started with a new research question and gathering all the information that you have at the start of a research project and putting it together in a timeline.
So I wanted to think of a few tips that would help someone that has done the timeline, maybe in other ways. I mean, we all have done timelines from the very beginning of our research. We've recognized that those are important. But what are some tips that could help you if you're going through the research like a pro process to just have good success? Well, the first tip that I want to talk about is using the 2025 template. Nicole revised the template last year and made a really important change that I think anyone who used the older templates will recognize is so nice. We used to have a little bit of duplication because we would enter something in the research log, or we would start out by putting information in the timeline. But then as we found new information for our person and we entered it in the research log, we'd have to do some duplicate entry to get that new information into the timeline. So now we don't have to do duplicate entry, and it's so nice. But there are some tips for using that I thought I would share. And if you've already been using the 2025 template, then um, you know, you're welcome to put in the chat your experience if you've enjoyed doing that. And if you haven't started yet, maybe this is the year you want to try out Airtable. I know in the course, we don't require you to use Airtable. You can use anything you want. If you're a spreadsheet or an Excel user, that's totally fine. But I thought I would just show some of the nice things for the template. So one of the things that you need to know if you are going to use the 2025 base is that the special tool that lets you add the record to the timeline from the research log entry has to be turned on under automations. So if you open up the base and you've copied it from Airtable Universe and it's not working, that's because you haven't turned on automations. And we can't automatically turn that on for you in the template. That's something that when you open your base, you just go up at the top. The default is data. That's what you'll usually see. And then you just click on automations. Over here, you will see that there is a specific automation that says add a record to the timeline from the research log entry, and you just toggle that on. And you can see that that automation is on, and then it will work for you. So it's triggered when a record is updated when you say add to timeline. And then in the timeline, it will create that record for you. So you won't have to duplicate things like the source citation, some of the information from your research log. It will show up in the timeline. So for example, this is what it looks like in the Airtable base, and it's a checkbox field. So you can see what kind of fields there are in Airtable by these little symbols next to the title. So for instance, AB next to comments means this is a long text field, so you can type as much as you want in that. This is long text. This is a short description based on our formula. FX means formula. It's already preloaded. And then this means a checkbox. So every time you want to add a source from the timeline, you would just check the checkbox. Now, what if you want to add it multiple times? Maybe you've got something like a census and you want to use that over and over in the timeline for all the children's births or residents, multiple events in the timeline. You simply uncheck the box and check it again, and it will show up as a new record each time in the timeline. Now, let's take a look and see what this might look like. This is the research log view here. And then this is the timeline view. And you can see that I have got one source, the 1870 census source for Cynthia Dillard, and I've used it twice in the timeline by doing the uncheck the box and then checking it again. And so I'm using it as her birth and I'm using it as her residence. So once you have added that from the research log, then you do have to go in and add some of the details that you want it to be. It will come in as the source type is just record. It won't tell you that it's a census. And so you'll have to go adjust it a bit, but you'll get all your basics in there. You won't have to retype some of this basic information, which I think is very, very nice. So, you're going to have one source and you can use it for multiple events. Now, tip number 2, consider your objective. So, you're going to have a specific objective for your project. And for the timeline, do you have to put every single thing in there you know about a family to have success? Not necessarily. For instance, my Cynthia Dillard project, she has 14 children. The complete timeline for her and Thomas, their entire family, is over 100 rows because every child I looked at their censuses and their marriage and all the records until they died for every child of those 14. Did I need to have every one of those in this new project I'm doing on trying to find her father? No. I did find that I needed to add a couple things once I got going, and one of those was just where did we get Dillard as her maiden name? So I added the 3 death certificates where her children give her the name of Dillard as their mother. And of course, you can go and add more sources. Let's say you're getting going on your project and you realize you forgot a couple things, then you will just go and add those to your timeline. It's not a big deal. So, for example, here's my Cynthia Dillard project, and the objective is just looking for a candidate, looking for a new candidate residing in Cass County, Georgia. So you'll see I've got all my basic key identifiers here. And then this timeline, here's the view or the grouping for just Cynthia Dillard and the records I've added. And I've just been very, very particular about what I added. I didn't put all of the records for the entire family. I wanted to get in birth dates so I could figure out a good birth date. I put in her residences and I put in her death. So this is kind of bare boned, but it's what I needed for this objective of discovering a candidate for her. And so you can think carefully about that. And of course, you can adjust as you need to and as you want to. Okay. So just a couple comments here. Using Airtable has really changed the way I do things. I'm able to see where I'm missing information more easily than just looking at Ancestry or Family Tree or Family Tree Maker. Great. And are automations available in the free plan? Yes, absolutely. So I have never paid. Well, I paid once for Airtable when I was using AI with it. So, yep, you can do it.